Dean.
Woo! Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Naya, for this platform. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. All right? Well, with that said, good afternoon, everybody. Come on, let me get some noise. These are the small but special sections. Good afternoon. There we are. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I got a question I want to start off with. Do you believe that we can close the racial wealth gap here in America in just one generation? How many of y'all think we could do that? This side? Okay, there's a few, yeah. On this side? All right. How about over here? All right. Well, I'm here to tell you, I wholeheartedly believe we can do this, right? And I hope by the end of this presentation, I can get you all to be believers in this. And why do I say that? It's because I have a tried and proven solution to closing the racial wealth gap. It's a bold statement, right? But listen, did you notice I said a solution? I didn't say the solution or the only solution, right? I'm not trying to take anything away from those folks who are trying to close the wealth gap with real estate. You've got folks out there trying to do it with investments, right, with entrepreneurship. We're all in this together. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I'm a proud insurance guy, right? And after 20 years of passionately working in this industry, I can show you outcomes and evidence of creating an inheritance and making a difference with the tool of life insurance when it comes to creating black wealth. Watch out now, I'll start rhyming on you when I get fired up, okay? But seriously, let me show you what we've been doing and how it's working, okay? My focus on the wealth gap started about 10 years ago when I saw a study by Brandeis University. It was called The Roots of the Growing Racial Wealth Gap. And then they said that the wealth gap between the average black family and the average white family was about $236,000. So as I read it over and over, I started to have this vision, right? I said, well, what if a black family were to have a $250,000 life insurance policy in place, right? Wouldn't that policy close that $236,000 gap once somebody passed away, right? It might not provide the same access and opportunity to the black family as the white family. I mean, this is still America, right? But at least it will put them on par financially, right? So then this vision turned into a mission when I shared it on my job as the then corporate vice president and head of the African American marketing unit at New York Life Insurance Company, right? So then I was leading 1,200 black agents at the time. I asked the leadership team, do you think we can use this now, this positioning, this retelling of this use of the tool of life insurance to create generational wealth, instead of how many in our black community see life insurance as only covering the cost of a funeral? You know, that's what I'm saying? They said, we believe we could possibly do this. You know what? Positioning it this way, we may do something different. We may be able to change the mindset, this negative stereotype that a lot have that takes us back to the old burial policies, right? The debit insurance, the industrial insurance, right? Where remember the insurance man would come to the house, right, and collect a few dollars a week from Big Mama. This happened around the country, right? In so many families, right? Suddenly, what he had done is sold her on a great homegoing, right? To never be a financial burden to the family, right? But he never talked about you leaving that policy to do anything else for the family or to set them up in any way. And what happened? When Big Mama passed away, in many cases, the family still had to pass the plate, right? They had to, in some cases, beg and borrow to bury her because there wasn't enough money in that policy for the funeral, right? And of course, all those small policies she had on all the kids, right? They just let those lapse or they cashed them in. It left a really negative taste in a lot of folks' mouth. So I said, you know what, using it this way, maybe we can start to build trust back, not only on this life insurance product, but in the career and with the agent. Get where I'm going with this? So this vision became a mission and then a movement when I challenged those 1,200 black agents to get in front of 200,000 black families and to show them the value of owning at least a $250,000 policy. Right? You can insure your parents, you can insure yourself, insure your children, but we're going to make sure that every generation receives something of significance. 200,000 people with $250,000 of insurance will create $50 billion of guaranteed tax-free future income as long as they keep paying those policies. Because you all know that life insurance passes tax-free, right? Right. And so here's where I'm going. So it's not if a policy in place for if something happens, but for when something happens. Because you all do realize we all got to pass at some point, right? Tell your neighbor, say, we don't get out of life alive. We don't get out of life alive. You get where I'm going with this? But just imagine the benefits of that $250,000 policy individually for the families, and then collectively over those next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, as those 200,000 people pass away, what we could do with that $50 billion, like in cycling it as a new income stream into black-owned businesses, right? Using it as into deposits into black banks, tithing into our churches. How about charitable giving and endowment creation for the organizations and the institutions that we love? This was the power and the potential of this product that I said we could do. So the folks got fired up around this. One second, brother. Folks got fired up around this, and it took us 6.5 years. And I'm proud to say that we were able to cross this milestone of $50 billion of life insurance in force by the black agents for the black community. Can we give them a round of applause for that? Woo! You can see the intention here was to create financial stability for when things go wrong, right? It's about creating economic opportunity for when possibilities arise. And of course, multi-generational wealth. That's a picture of us standing on the steps of the Capitol, right? This is us on the Roland Martin show, and we were featured in all these articles down here, right? I think most proud in this for me was when some of the reporters tied this back to our history. When they said, here it is 50 years after the civil rights movement, this group of now 1,500 black agents have created $50 billion for our next generation. It's about paying it forward, like they did for us with civil rights. Now we're passing the baton to those who come after us, but to the tune of $50 billion. You guys get right? So I've shared this story sometimes with Naya before, but I wanted to now give you the outcomes and evidence of this campaign making a difference in our community. Okay? See, you can imagine, over the last 10 years, people have passed away. Thousands of people have passed away, and we paid out over $1 billion in death claims. We've actually created millionaire black families where there weren't before. And this wasn't because they had a winning lottery ticket, right? It's because somebody in the family sat down and put a plan in place with an agent to make sure that family was going to be set up. Right? They made sure to understand this wasn't just about closing the wealth gap, but about protecting income. Right? You make $50,000 a year for 20 years, that's $1 million. We're all $1 million assets to our families. If we don't make it home tomorrow, what will happen to our family? This is what these agents were sharing. This is about creating legacy and financial freedom for the future, right? So the first person that was able to deliver $1 million death claim check was Lamar Boyce over there in Philadelphia. So he had a client come in, told him, I only want a $100,000 policy. He's like, no, I I just got this learning and this teaching. I want to explain to you that you're $1 million asset to your family. And we got to take out at least $1 million. She says, okay. Here it was 4 years later, she comes down with a condition and passes away. Lamar now gets to deliver $1 million check back to her mother to benefit her and her daughter, the woman's daughter. And where the daughter says, you know what, my mother was a nurse, I now want to become a doctor to honor my mother's memory because I know that she has set up everything for me to be able to do that. Do you see how this is successfully working? This is really happening. Guy Walker was the second one over there in California. He delivered $2 million checks, but the first one was a great story. Here was a tech company CEO, right? Had a term policy that had expired. Little did he know that he had stopped paying the policy. The wife calls Guy and says, listen, husband's just had a massive heart attack. Has passed away. Guy says, well, let me check up, make sure that everything is okay. He found out that the gentleman had passed away on the 59th day of not paying his premium. The company had said, had it been the 60th day, they were going to cancel it altogether. But because it was the 59th, they were going to honor this $1 million claim minus the 2 premium payments. So that's a testament to the company for one, right? But here's where I'm going. Can you imagine what that meant for the wife? To be able to carry on this business, right? To make sure that she can stay in the home and provide and take care of the children. We're doing it and it's working. Third person I want to call out is Everett Fox. The folks know Everett from down in Richmond, Virginia. He's the poster child of our economic empowerment movement because he's delivered now $3 million death claim checks. He said he never expected this to happen so quickly. This was during the time of COVID. People he had insured sat down and put a plan in place he said, I grew up with. I figured we had another 10, 20, 30, 40 years before this would ever happen. But he said, I got to look at the children and the children's children of those people that I went to school with and know that I set them up for the future. That's how powerful this is. Two more. Joseph Wanini, right? He's delivered $2 million checks. The last one he delivered was in September on a policy he wrote in April. Person got into a car accident, passed away. You just never know, but at least the person had a policy in place for when something happened like that. Last one is Crystal Hollingsworth, just told a story for me last week. Right? Here it was, she, same thing, was talking to a client about a 10-year term policy, $1 million. And the person was trying to haggle with her, trying to get the cheapest premium going. She's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sell you the cheapest one out there. I'm going to sell you something that I know has living benefits. In case not only if you die, but if something happens to you while you're alive, you can benefit from this policy. If you have a critical illness, a chronic illness, a terminal illness. Turns out 3 years after selling this woman the policy, right? She gets invited to a wedding. She said, oh, it was a great time. And a few weeks after, she gets a call from the woman and says, listen, I need you to go over those living benefits you told me about. So, oh, girl, those are for people who are sick. You don't need to worry about that. She said, oh, well, listen. I went to the doctor. I had a pain in my side. Somebody said, if you have a pain for more than 3 days, then you should go see the doctor. And I did. I said, well, maybe it's an appendix. And the doctor says, well, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is it's not your appendix. The bad news is it's 4th stage cancer. And we're giving you 6 months to live. So she's like, I need you to find out about those living benefits. Crystal goes back to the company. They say, you know what, with the short time frame left, we're going to advance $700,000 on that policy for her to take now. Right? Think about that. She got to pay off her mortgage. Well, first she got to continue her treatments. Not only the chemo, but some of these other, non-traditional things. She got to extend her life almost another year in addition to what she said. But in that time, she was able to pay off the mortgage. She didn't have her own children. She paid for her nieces and nephews, all of their college educations. She actually took out purchased some investment property so that they could have income because she wasn't working anymore. The family would have income. That's how forward thinking she was. But what allowed her to do that? This amazing tool of life insurance. You guys get where I'm going with this? These are now the success stories of this $50 billion movement. We're doing it, and it's working. If I don't sound passionate enough about this, I became even more fired up over the last few years when we had COVID-19, of course. I wonder if there could have been some triumph in the tragedy that we saw, especially with the disparity of it hitting the Black community, right? It's an APM research lab that said there was 142,000 Black people that died between April 2022 and April 2020 and April 2022 because of COVID-19. A heartbreaking number, right? But here's where I take this. If each of those 142,000 people would have had at least a $250,000 policy in place, it would have created $35.6 billion for their families. Now I ask you, what can the friends, the families, and the businesses of 142,000 Black people do with $35 billion? You guys get where I'm going with this? But what do we know? That a lot of the companies got to revise down their expected payout numbers because who was passing away? The elderly who had small policies in place. And of course, minorities who many didn't have policies at all. So I take this on now as like a moral case and a business case that we all in this industry have to do a better job of educating and underwriting, right? Especially those families in underserved communities, to making sure that they're going to be set up and not set back when situations like this come along. So there it is. I'm just going to say, I believe that this tool of life insurance can give us the ability to leapfrog ahead in life. Right? Before you even get to the financial part, I'm thinking of it in the mental part, the mindset. We always talk about shifting our mindset. Think about this policy, right? Providing peace of mind. How often do you hear that in the Black community? Peace of mind, right? Confidence and a freedom to operate differently because you know your family's future is going to be secure, no matter what happens. Whether I pass away, whether I'm here, whether it's going to be okay. Now we can start thinking about not only surviving from day to day, but thriving, right? Those folks move into the middle class and they drop back out when something wrong happens. Or somebody passes away and everything gets thrown back onto the bus. We can start to change that. When you think about this, the monetary part of this, I talk about this transformative lump sum of cash that can be delivered. Think about if you had received $50,000 at some point in your lifetime when you grew up. How different that would have made for you. How about $250,000? 500,000? How about $1 million? Has anybody here inherited $1 million? But you do know that this is happening in communities around us. This industry has been around 200 years. There's been generations of this happening. We're just not participating the same. We have to understand what others have been doing and that we've been missing. You guys get it? Last point in this, I want to say that I wholeheartedly believe that if every black family had a life insurance that could afford it, had a life insurance policy in place, and for those who couldn't, the government could take care of them, then we could close the racial wealth gap in one generation. Have I got you all to believe it in this? So I'm going to bring it to an end here to say, listen, I'm going to invite you all to spread this message with me. Right? We've proven the concept with this $50 billion campaign. Right? We're just getting started. I'm thinking about what we can do to amplify this across the industry now. That was one company, one group of agents. What if we were to do this across the industry, right? Spread this message about the power and the potential of this amazing tool. Right? We're going to make sure that we all have protected ourselves. Right? I say to the tune of millions of dollars. We want to make sure that there's people pass away in this organization, in this industry, that we make sure that we are the leaders in pushing this forward. So I'm inviting everybody to come together, right? Be you an agent, be you an advisor, an employee, a manager, a corporate executive, whether you're in life or in health, whether you're in P&C, whether you're in an investment agency. I say let's come together and make sure that we can scale this up, right? Because together I believe we can as individuals. Together we must as organizations and corporations. Together we will as a collective black community close the racial wealth gap and change the financial future of Black America forever. Thank you.